Hi guys, Redneckcomputergeek here. We're going to get back to the go-kart build pretty soon here, but one thing that's been coming up lately is the fact that my son's power wheel is a tad bit slow. Okay, it runs off of a battery out of a lawn tractor. You got to give it a break. But at this point, Donovan's getting about 9, going on 10. I mean, he needs something that's more fun. So, we got a hold of a free power wheel the other day, and we had this MTD that kind of blew an engine. And then this was donated by a fellow YouTuber. His name is Main Junker. You should check him out if you like seeing really interesting ammunition. Now, I bet you didn't notice that there's actually 3 Furbies in this intro. But that's not important because we're going to explain exactly what's going on with this build now. Alright, so welcome to Project MTD, Mud Terrain Dominator. This is our Power Wheels build. We're going to base it off of a 2-wheel drive pickup truck. Now, basically, if you take an MTD Transaxle and you turn it up on its side, it's nothing more than just the rear differential from a 2-wheel drive pickup truck. You got an engine, you got a clutch, you got a drive shaft, you got a rear differential. Let's see if we can explain some more. Okay, so in this picture, we've got our engine, which is our Harbor Freight engine. And you've got your gas tank on this side, you've got your air intake on this side, your exhaust here, which we'll probably make a stack out of, I haven't quite decided. We're going to put a regular go-kart clutch on it. We're going to take the gas tank and we're going to relocate it underneath the cab of the truck, which is essentially the windshield on this. So we're going to take a clutch, we're going to drop that down to a drive shaft, which is going to have gears on it. That drive shaft is going to go right back, and we're going to go right into the MTD transmission. Once we're into it, we've got our regular shifter. We should be able to go forward, neutral, reverse, just like we did when it was a lawn tractor. And from there, we've got our 2 tires. Now, I'll do a walk around on this setup right now and show you exactly what I mean by flipping it around. Okay, so let's explain further why we cut the entire MTD in half. So this is the rear end as it normally would sit in an MTD facing this direction. As you can see, if we pull up, you can see the top where the pulley shaft is, and you can see where the shifter normally would have come to the front. Forward, neutral, reverse. So, the problem with this is that the pulley is going up. We need a shaft going this direction. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to spin it 180 degrees. Kind of. Alright, so now what you can see is I've rotated it entirely around, and basically this becomes a rear differential like in a truck, and now the shaft is facing forward, and your shifter is now up here. And this shaft easily would be extendable, so what will happen is the shaft will go through. This will be extended so it comes in out from underneath the seat, and the seat will sit right about here. Now back to the rest of the explanation. Okay, and the other part is that we're going to have to discuss is the fact that the original idea was to take the MTD steering, which I'll actually show you in a video right now. The problem is, this MTD steering idea that I originally had isn't going to work because of the fact that the rotation is incorrect. I've got a couple of options here. What I could actually do is I could actually take in the arm that normally would come around and I could flip it to the other side, but then I'd have to raise it over the top of the tire and it would be inside the wheel well. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do with this setup. Now, there's a couple other things I'd like to touch on. If we come up to this, part of the problem that we're going to have is that the power wheel in itself, from the center of this tire to the center of this tire, is 32 inches. The original MTD was actually 42 inches from center of tire to center of tire. So somewhere we've got to lose a few inches. I think that we can bring it together and be able to go and put a piece of regular 1x1 square tubing down across the side and be able to mount everything together. That's where we're going to figure it out as we go. The other issue that we're going to run into is the MTD actually had 18-inch tires on the rear of it. The power wheel actually only has 13-inch tires. Now the front tires are actually 13-inch to begin with. So we'll probably leave these as 13s, regular lawn tractor tires, and eventually upgrade them later. And then the regular 20-inch tires will eventually upgrade later. The problem is our wheel well is only 16 inches. What I need from you guys as subscribers, what do you think about doing a 1-inch lift on the rear? It's going to make the power wheel sit slightly forward, but kind of in uncharted territory here. So there's this. I also need to know what you guys think on this clutch idea. I need to know whether you think we should go 1-to-1, since we've already got a gear ratio going in the differential. Another thing I'd like to touch on, as far as whether you guys think it's okay or not, is the rear end on this power wheel is actually 32 inches wide. The rear end on the MTD is actually 35 inches wide. I don't think it's really going to make that much of a cosmetic difference, especially since eventually later we're going to put some mud tires on it and actually take it off-roading. So I don't think that's going to matter. One of the things I wanted to touch on was that the engine block size was brought up by a friend of mine that I discussed this with. And basically the engine block is 9 inches by 13 inches. I'll post a photo of an overview right now of looking down on the power wheel, and I'll post with another photo of an overview of the engine. Now, if you take the gas tank off of the engine, you take the exhaust and you port it straight up as if it's a stack, and then you take the air filter and you put a cone filter on it, or you put something that looks a lot more automotive on it, then you've got a 9-inch by 13-inch block. At that point, we've got an 8-inch by 14-inch opening in the front that already exists without having to cut into anything as far as space. Now, the reason why I say 9 is because we have a pull start that's on that Predator engine. What I may be able to do is I may be able to actually tuck the pull start into the grill and be able to pull start it through the grill. Haven't quite decided there either. So that's a basic overview as to everything that's going on. If you guys would like to leave me comments, I'd really appreciate comments on the gear ratio here from clutch going down to the drive shaft gear. I'd love to have ideas as to whether I should cut the wheel well out or whether I should do a 1-inch lift in order to fit the rear tires. The other issue that I'm having is the engine block would actually sit slightly in front of the front tires, and I'm trying to decide whether I should actually cut into the windshield or whether I should leave the windshield as intact as possible and only go within the engine bay that is allotted by Power Wheels. Leave me comments. We're going to get started on this project this weekend. Have fun, guys. Bye-bye.